Midweek Analysis.
Hey guys, this is the midweek analysis for March 17th of 2021. Alright, so we'll start off with the Nzdusd pair. This is a weekly chart. We'll start off with a brief overview. Okay, because this long move, starting from this range right here, was solely based on momentum. In the long term, we are short biased, right back down to this pivot low. However, in the short term, since there is still some momentum long left, we are long biased, right up to this pivot high. So, long term, we are short biased to this price level right here. In the short term, we are long biased to this price level up here. Alright, so let's talk midweek price. Okay, this is a daily chart. Now, since we were long biased on the short term right up to this pivot high, we were looking for entry long. Now, the level we were looking at is this trend line from this pivot to this pivot. And we wanted price to respect this trend line with compact price action. Now, this compact price action can also be on the 4-hour chart. However, it just has to be on this daily trend line level. Now, if we get that compact price action, then possibly we could see that move up to this pivot high target. Okay. Now, another possibility we were talking about, let me just get rid of this, is that due to recent price action, there is a possibility that price may just go up right up to that target right away without making this compact price action. Okay, so to explain this, let me take you over to the 4-hour chart. Okay, this is a 4-hour chart. Now, the last long trade that formed was right here. Now, that stop loss hasn't been hit yet. Okay, now as long as this stop loss does not get hit, there is a possibility that price can go straight to that pivot high target without making that compact price action. Alright, so in terms of midweek price is trying to get past this trend line from this pivot to this pivot. Again, this is a 4-hour chart. Now, the first thing we want to see is for the 4-hour price to get through this trend line level, opening a path right up to this target pivot high. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to add is that although this target high is the main target, there is a conservative target, and that would be this H&S level. So from this pivot to this pivot, we want to adjust that to this pivot here. So roughly that would be in this level right here. Okay. Now, if you don't know how to draw H&S's, please watch lesson 8 of my price action trading course. It explains the ins and outs of H&S patterns. So if you're long this trade, one conservative target you can take is this 4-hour H&S level. Okay, and then make the aggressive target that pivot high that we were talking about. Alright, so let's go on to the Usdjpy pair. Oh, and please subscribe if you like these videos, and please press the like button. It will really help me out, guys. Thank you. Okay, so this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with a brief overview. Okay, so ultimately we're targeting this pivot low at 101. But before that, we were talking about the pullback to 107, then to 109, and that target was hit. So at this point, in the long term, we're looking for a short trade right back down to this price level. But in the medium term, due to strong momentum long, we are neutral biased. Okay, so let's talk midweek price. Okay, we're going to stay on this monthly chart. At a fundamental level, we're looking at this trend line from this pivot to this pivot. Now, we want price to respect this level with compact price action. Okay, now in order for this compact price action to form, at the very least, we do not want to have a breakout on the monthly chart of this monthly trend line. Okay, now there are a couple other things we want to be looking for, so let's go down to the weekly chart. Okay, so due to this strong momentum long, we do want to see a little bit of weakening of this long momentum. So at a basic level, on the weekly chart, we do want to see at least 2 red candles form first. Okay, so either way, this long-term setup short is going to take some time to form. Okay, now in terms of midweek price, let's take you down to the daily chart. So the last short trade that formed was right here. Now that short trade was relatively strong compared to this long trade. So although there was a lot of selling pressure here, price still went up and stopped out this stop loss pivot high, which indicates a lot of momentum long. Okay, thus it would be wise to let that weekly chart make those 2 red candles first and wait for this long momentum to slow down first. Moreover, there are some signs on the 4-hour chart that we want to see for this long momentum to slow down. Okay, so this is a 4-hour chart. This trend line from this pivot to this pivot. The first thing we want to see is for this trend line to break out. Okay, opposingly, if price keeps respecting this trend line like this, then possibly we could see another move higher. Okay, so we really just want to take our time with this one and watch for that weekly chart to show signs of waning long momentum. Okay, all right, so let's go on to the Euro USD. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with a brief overview. Okay, so this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. Okay, because it was a long breakout roughly 7 months ago, in the medium term, we are long biased right up to this pivot high right here. But in the short term, we are short biased right back down to this pivot low. Okay, so long term, we're long biased to this price level. Short term, we are short biased right down to this price level. All right, now let's talk midweek price. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Now let me remind you of the basic setup we're looking at right now. All right, so this trade short was very strong and the long trade right here was weak. Thus, as price pulled back, we were looking for a short right back down to this pivot low. And now fundamentally the same thing is happening. So another weak long trade formed right here. So as price pulls back, we want to be looking for short right back down to this pivot low. Okay, so ideally, the bigger pullback we can get, that means we could create more distance between our short entry point to our target. So in this point in time, we want price to go up a little bit more. Okay, so let me take you to the 4-hour chart. All right, the first thing we want to see is for this trend line to get broken out, right? Because we want to pull back long so we could create distance between our short entry point to our target right here. So we'll just see if this trend line gets broken out, and that will be a good thing. And then we'll be looking for short right back down to this pivot low. All right, so let's go on to the Aussie NZD pair. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with a brief overview. All right, so we had this normal double bottom right here against a weak downward trend line. And so we were long biased into at least this trend line right here, or perhaps this pivot high. However, due to recent price action, we are short biased on the short term, right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, so let's talk midweek price. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Fundamentally, we're talking about being in this range right here with the top level up here and the bottom level right here. Again, this range is created from these gaps right here on the bottom end. See how there are many gaps right here? And the top end is we're going to have to scroll all the way back. Okay. So the top end is created from this gap right here, from here to here. So this bottom part of the gap is creating the top end of that weekly range. Okay. Okay, so fundamentally, since we are short bias in the short term, we are only looking for short trades on the top end of this range. Okay, so let me take you to the daily chart. Okay, so since that daily range is roughly in this level right here, what we want ideally is for price to get up past and stop out this pivot high first, and then make a short trade on the daily chart. So we could target this pivot low as a first target, and the aggressive target being right back down here. Now in terms of midweek price, let's go over to the 4-hour chart. For the time being, since we want price to pull back long so we could take a short right back down, at a fundamental level, this trend line right here, so from this pivot to this pivot, we want price to keep respecting this. So it allows price to get right back up here, so possibly we could get a daily trade right back down. Okay, so what we want to be watching for is this trend line to stay intact. Now if this trend line does get broken out, then it might take a little bit more time to get right back up to our short entry level. Okay, alright, so that's it for the midweek analysis. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, guys, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye.